You know, this is actually sort of becoming my thing now, I guess. Uh, Finding things that are overpriced for sale online, game things, and just pointing out how ridiculously overpriced they are and what they're actually worth. I mean, I'm actually enjoying this. Well, as much as it's like breaking parts of my brain, I'm enjoying it. There's a guy right now on eBay who's selling about, let's just be fair here, probably about $250 worth of Atari 2600 games, you know, complete in the box, uh, for the low price of $15,000. And the price is just my estimation. I saw the box. It's got about, let's say, about 24 games in there. They're all very common games. I checked on price charting. They're all like within like the $5 to $15 range. And yeah, no, he's not listing what they are. I can't see if the games are in the box. You know, the games themselves are inside the boxes. I can't see that. So I'm going to have to assume that there's a chance that they're not. Basically, this is one of the more things I've ever seen as far as eBay sales go. I actually contacted this guy saying, I'm going to read my response and then I'm going to read his response. And by the way, my response is I'm explaining this to him. You know, in a very polite way, you know, I'm trying not to be a dick. And his response, to his credit, he's polite. He's just kind of stupid. Okay, my response, my message. Dear user, I don't want to sound like a jerk or anything. I'm just trying to be helpful, but those Atari games aren't worth anywhere near what you're charging for them. I can't be certain since you didn't list which games are in there, but those are mostly fairly common, and at the most you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about $150 worth of games. Now, this was just my ballpark estimation there. Upon further, actually counting out the games and saying that they're all common and just assuming like $10 a piece, it's closer to 200. But you know, hey, if he's going to overcharge by about $14,800, I can lowball him by about $50 to $100. So yeah, if you want a good resource for finding the price of games, use this site, and I direct him to pricecharting.com. It's generally accurate, particularly with older games. Hopefully this helps you out, because you're not going to sell that for anywhere near $15,000. Helpful, polite, you know, not being a dick to him. That last line had a little bit of, like, in it, but, you know, you kind of have to expect that when you're dealing with this sort of dumbness. His response, hey, thanks for responding to the listing. I put the games in a way so that not everything is shown. Basically, element of surprise. But yes, common ones are visible. Okay, so there are more games. Apparently. I mean, you're not listing the games that you have. And you're not listing the rare games you have. You're just showing the really common ones. Let's assume that you actually do have some rare games and you don't. You would put at least one or two of them in that box, you know, to make people actually want what's in the box. Because for $15,000, if you're buying something for $15,000, you do not want to be surprised by what you get. This guy charging $15,000 because he wants to give you a surprise. Are you fucking serious? Old Atari games. If you feel you're taking a risk, that's understandable. I feel I'm taking a risk as well. Okay, first off, no, you're not. You're not taking a risk, unless you count people calling you a douchebag a risk. Because, you know, if that's the case, then yeah, you're a risk taker. As am I by posting videos on YouTube calling you a douchebag. I am listing as a fixed price, and I will also place it as a best offer. Please understand the following. 1. I listed this item at $15,000 for a reason. Okay. What reason is that? Because you need to pay off some car payments? Because that I guess that would count as a reason. You know, but it's not worth that much. That doesn't make it worth that much. That doesn't make it okay to charge this much for that. Please be serious when making an offer, keeping in mind what the original listing amount the item was listed for. No. What? Keeping in mind what the original listing amount the item was listed for? What does that mean? Keep in mind how much I'm charging when you make an offer. So let me guess, you won't go below $10,000, right? I feel this is a very fair price. No. Just no. Then you feel wrong. There are opinions, and it's very rare when an opinion is wrong. Your opinion is wrong. Because that's not an opinion, this is market value. It's nowhere near what you're asking for. Nowhere even close. Nowhere close to it. Please be sincere and fair when making an offer. I just might bite and accept. Okay, I see what you're doing. You want people to shoot you ridiculous offers, too, that aren't nearly as ridiculous as this, but like, duh, I'll give you $1,000 for it. Duh, no. Screw you. There are some games in this box that are not shown in the picture. Why not? You're selling them at that price. Why not show everything you're selling? I know that some of the games are visible, most considered not worth the amount listed. They're not. That's not what I consider what they're worth. They're just not. I mean, some of the games he has in there are good. They're not worth what you're asking. You know, a boxed copy of Combat is worth like $5-10. Sorry, it's a really good game. Sorry, it's not worth that. It's not worth more money than I have in my wallet right now. Do, however, keep in mind that there are other games that you cannot see. You don't know how eBay works, do you? If you can't see it, assume that it's not there. I mean, if they're not listing it as being there, assume that it's not. Like if someone's listing, like, I mean, it's up to the seller to list what they have. Like for example, if I were selling off a copy of Siphon Filter 2 right here, I could list off, like, I would have to list off, I only have the discs in here, and they're not in particularly good condition. I don't have the manual, and the box is beat to shit. That would be fair and reasonable, because I'm telling you what you're getting, what you're in for. If the seller is not informing the buyer of what they're getting, then the seller is probably ripping off the buyer. That is the buyer's assumption. I know someone will understand and be interested, whether it be a collector or someone looking to get into collecting and wanting to have a good start. Okay, first off, a collector would know that you're charging, like, easily a couple, like, $15,000 for about $200 worth of games. That's what it's worth is a fraction of what you're charging. Any collector worth their salt would know that. I'm not even an Atari collector. I know next to nothing about the 2600. I have a few games, but most of them were given to me by a friend of mine. He's an Atari collector. I don't have to contact him and say, hey, is this worth anywhere near what this... Because I know the answer is no, because I can do a little bit of quick price checking and tell you that you're selling about a couple $100 worth. You see, that any collector, you know, knows to check before they buy, and when you see something like this, you can just pretty much write it off as, no, that's not worth that. And someone looking into getting into collecting and wanting to get a good start is not going to spend $15,000. And when no one has any way of verifying that. I'm sorry, no one is going to take this offer, especially if they're just starting out. if someone's just starting out, they'll see this. They'll see this price and just go, oh, no, I'm not collecting games. Fuck that. I can't give you that much money for that. No. If it's all worth that much. You're scaring away collectors. You're scaring away people from getting into the hobby. You are doing a bad thing. I welcome any questions that you may have. I am trying to keep an element of surprise, and lastly, I ask you to refrain from any negative messages. Thank you. See, right here, this is how I feel about this guy.